In an era of titans and empires, one name eclipsed them all, echoing through the annals of history like a thunderclap. His ambition was boundless, his genius unmatched, and his legacy eternal. This is the story of Alexander the Great, the king who sought to conquer the world and, in doing so, reshaped it forever. Ascending to the throne of Macedon at the tender age of 20, Alexander inherited not just a kingdom but a vision. After swiftly quelling rebellions and securing his dominion over the Greek city-states, he turned his gaze east, towards the colossal Persian Empire, a foe his father had longed to challenge. In 334 BCE, with an audacious spirit and an army forged in the crucible of Macedonian warfare, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor. At the Battle of the Granicus, his first major confrontation with the Persians, Alexander led a daring cavalry charge, shattering the enemy lines and signaling the dawn of a new age of warfare. It was a decisive victory that opened the gateway to Anatolia and marked the first step on his legendary path of conquest. With Asia Minor secured, Alexander marched relentlessly into the heart of Persia. He was not just a conqueror, he was a master strategist, a commander who led from the front, inspiring unwavering loyalty. At the Battle of Issus and later at the monumental clash of Gaugamela, he faced the immense armies of King Darius III. Outnumbered but never outmaneuvered, Alexander's tactical brilliance turned the tide in both encounters, routing the Persian forces and forcing Darius to flee. The great cities of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis fell before him. His journey then led him to Egypt, where he was not seen as a foreign invader but as a liberator. The Egyptians welcomed him, crowning him pharaoh and hailing him as the son of Amun, a divine status that further fueled his ambition. Yet for Alexander, the known world was not enough. His insatiable drive pushed him further east into the unknown territories of Central Asia. His army endured scorching deserts, treacherous mountains, and fierce resistance as they ventured into modern-day Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. From there, he crossed the Hindu Kush and marched into the verdant lands of India. Here, he faced one of his greatest challenges at the Battle of the Hydaspes against King Porus and his formidable war elephants. Despite another tactical triumph, the campaign took its toll. After years of relentless marching and fighting, his weary troops, longing for home, finally mutinied at the Hydaspes River, compelling their king to turn back from the edge of the world. The long journey back to Babylon was fraught with hardship. Upon his return, Alexander began the monumental task of consolidating his vast multicultural empire. He envisioned a fusion of Greek and Persian cultures, encouraging intermarriage and adopting foreign customs himself. But his grand plans were cut short. In 323 BCE, in the opulent city of Babylon, Alexander the Great, the undefeated conqueror who had wept for there were no more worlds to conquer, succumbed to a sudden illness at the age of just 32. His death left a power vacuum, and his colossal empire soon fractured, carved up by his generals into rival Hellenistic kingdoms. Though his empire did not survive him intact, Alexander's true legacy proved far more enduring. His conquests shattered old boundaries and forged new connections, spreading Greek language, culture, and philosophy from the Mediterranean to the Indus Valley. This Hellenistic age, born from his ambition, would become a crucible of innovation, influencing art, science, and politics for centuries. Alexander's story is more than a tale of battles won. It is a testament to the power of a single individual's will to reshape the course of human history, leaving an indelible mark upon the world. This is the story of a man whose ambition knew no bounds, a king who became a legend, and an empire that stretched from Greece to India. This is the 4-minute history of Alexander the Great. Born in 356 BC in the Kingdom of Macedon, the young Prince Alexander was destined for greatness. His father, King Philip II, was a formidable military strategist who had unified the fractured Greek city-states under his rule. To shape his son into a worthy successor, Philip hired the most brilliant mind of the age as a private tutor, the philosopher Aristotle. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander developed a lifelong passion for philosophy, science, and literature, all while being rigorously trained in the arts of war and politics. In 336 BC, this carefully crafted education was put to the ultimate test when Philip II was assassinated. At just 20 years old, Alexander ascended to the throne, inheriting not only his father's kingdom but also his grand ambition, the conquest of the mighty Persian Empire. With the Greek world secured behind him, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor in 334 BC, leading a highly disciplined army of Macedonians and Greeks. He was immediately met with resistance, but his innovative tactics and personal bravery secured decisive early victories. The Persian Emperor Darius III vastly underestimated the young king, a mistake he would come to regret. The turning point came at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Alexander employed a brilliant strategy, creating a gap in the Persian lines and charging directly at Darius. The Persian king fled the battlefield and his army crumbled. This single victory shattered the power of the Achaemenid dynasty, leaving the gates to the heart of the Persian Empire, including the legendary cities of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, wide open for the Macedonian conqueror. Alexander's ambition did not end with Persia. Marching south, he entered Egypt, where he was welcomed not as a conqueror but as a liberator from Persian rule. The Egyptians proclaimed him a pharaoh and a divine son of the god Zeus Ammon. It was here on the coast of the Mediterranean that he founded the most famous of the many cities that would bear his name, Alexandria, a future hub of commerce, culture, and learning. Yet Alexander's gaze was already fixed eastward. He pushed his weary but loyal army across treacherous deserts and over forbidding mountains, venturing into the unknown lands of modern-day Afghanistan and Pakistan. He finally reached the Indian subcontinent, where he faced his most challenging battle against King Porus and his war elephants at the Hydaspes River. Although victorious, his men, exhausted and homesick after years of relentless campaigning, refused to go any further. Reluctantly, Alexander agreed to turn back, marking the easternmost limit of his vast empire. Returning to Babylon, the new capital of his sprawling domain, Alexander began to plan his next campaigns, including the invasion of Arabia. But he would never see them through. In 323 BC, after a prolonged bout of fever, Alexander the Great died at the age of 32. He left behind an empire that was the largest the Western world had ever seen, but no clear heir to inherit it. His death triggered a period of chaos as his powerful generals, the Diadochi, fought amongst themselves, eventually carving his empire into several Hellenistic kingdoms. While his political unity was short-lived, Alexander's true legacy endured. By toppling the Persian Empire and bridging the gap between East and West, he initiated the Hellenistic Age, a period where Greek language, art, and ideas spread and mingled with local cultures, fundamentally reshaping the ancient world for centuries to come. So the next time you hear the name Alexander, remember the young king who was tutored by a philosopher, who conquered the known world before his 33rd birthday, and whose legacy proves that the influence of a single life can echo through millennia. In the annals of history, few names resonate with the same force as Alexander the Great, a man whose ambition was as vast as the world he sought to conquer. His story begins not on the battlefield, but in the halls of learning, a young prince of Macedon, restless and brilliant. Under the tutelage of the great philosopher Aristotle, his mind was sharpened, prepared not just for rule, but for a destiny that would reshape the known world. At the tender age of 20, following the assassination of his father, Philip II, Alexander ascended to the throne. The kingdom he inherited was powerful, but it was his vision that would forge it into an empire the likes of which had never been seen. The stage was set and a legend was about to be born, marching out of the heart of Greece to claim the world. With the discipline of the Macedonian phalanx at his back and a strategic genius that seemed almost supernatural, Alexander embarked on his great conquests. His gaze was fixed eastward, on the sprawling ancient Persian Empire, a rival that had challenged Greece for generations. At the Battle of the Granicus, he first tasted victory, a prelude to the decisive clashes at Issus and Gaugamela. There, against overwhelming odds, he shattered the armies of Darius III, the Persian king of kings. City after city fell before him: Babylon, Susa, Persepolis. His campaign was a relentless storm, sweeping across Anatolia, the Levant, and Egypt, where he was hailed as a liberator and founded the city that would bear his name, Alexandria. But his ambition knew no bounds. He pushed further, beyond the familiar horizons, across the rugged mountains of the Hindu Kush and into the Indus Valley, reaching the very edge of the known world. His soldiers, weary but ever loyal, had followed him to the ends of the earth. Just as his empire reached its zenith, Alexander's journey came to an abrupt and untimely end. In 323 BC, in the opulent city of Babylon, the great conqueror succumbed to a sudden illness at the age of just 32. He left behind a vast, sprawling domain without a clear heir, famously declaring it would go to the strongest. His death triggered a chaotic power struggle among his top generals, the Diadochi, who fractured his empire into several successor kingdoms. Yet his true legacy was not one of political unity, but of cultural fusion. As his armies marched, they carried with them Greek language, art, and philosophy, which blended with the rich traditions of the East. This vibrant new culture, known as Hellenism, would flourish for centuries, influencing civilizations from Egypt to India. Though his reign was fleeting, the world Alexander created, a world interconnected by Greek ideas and a shared heritage, endured long after he was gone, a testament to a life that burned brighter than any other.